Hot molten gold poured down your throat as your insides rupture from the heat. Boiling sugar water splashed over your sleeping body, clinging to your flesh like lava. A pressure drop so sudden your organs explode from your chest and scatter through the air. And a corpse skinned, dissected, and turned into shoes, worn like a trophy. This is part 3 of the worst deaths in history. After suffering a devastating defeat during a campaign in the East, Manius Aquilius attempted to flee back to Rome. He didn't make it far. Locals captured him and handed him over to his enemy, who saw not just a man to punish, but an opportunity to make a statement. He was tied to a donkey and paraded through the streets like a criminal, spat on and jeered at by crowds. His armor was gone, his pride stripped. The general who once commanded legions was now a broken man on display. Then came the execution. To mock the Roman lust for wealth and dominance, his captors melted gold until it bubbled like lava. Then they forced it down his throat. The moment it touched his mouth, his flesh would have sizzled. As it rushed down his esophagus, it would have incinerated the lining of his throat and lungs, tearing through organs like boiling acid. The heat and pressure likely caused his stomach to rupture, possibly bursting through his abdomen in a grotesque explosion of flesh and molten metal. It was just after midnight on July 14, 2020, when 59-year-old Corinna Smith quietly walked into her garden in Cheshire, England. She returned inside with a bucket. Minutes later, she boiled 2 kettles of water, stirred in sugar until the mixture thickened into a syrupy sludge, and carried it to the bedroom where her 81-year-old husband, Michael Baines, lay asleep. Then she poured it over him. The molten sugar solution clung to his skin like glue, amplifying the burns and making them nearly impossible to treat. Michael suffered for 5 agonizing weeks before succumbing in the hospital. Neighbors were shaken awake when Smith, sobbing and shaking, banged on their door. "I think I've killed him." Smith, who had been married to Baines for 38 years and was also his caregiver, claimed it was the culmination of years of anger and a heated family dispute. But the court saw it for what it was, a deliberate, boiling hot execution. She was convicted of murder and sentenced to life. In November 1983, 4 commercial divers inside a pressurized chamber system in the North Sea were moments from safety when a catastrophic mechanical failure caused explosive decompression. In a fraction of a second, the pressure inside the chamber dropped from 9 atmospheres to 1. The effect was immediate and horrifying. 3 of the men died where they sat, their circulatory systems flooded with fat and ruptured by gas bubbles so violently that their blood chemistry collapsed. But the 4th diver, still near the entrance, suffered a fate no human body was meant to endure. The sudden rush of air blasted his body through a gap no larger than 2 feet across. He suffered gross dismemberment. His internal organs ejected forcefully into the open air, some found over 30 feet away. There was no warning, no time to scream. Just a vacuum, a roar, and then silence, leaving behind carnage so surreal it defied belief. Once a feared outlaw in the Wild West, Bignose George met a fate more grotesque than any bullet could offer. The true brutality came not from the lynching itself, but from the macabre acts that followed. After being sentenced to hang for his crimes in 1881, he tried to escape his Wyoming jail cell by sawing through his shackles and ambushing the jailer with them. Though he fractured the man's skull, the jailer survived, and the town erupted in fury. Within hours, a masked mob stormed the jail, dragged George out, and lynched him from a telegraph pole. But death was only the beginning of his bizarre legacy. 2 doctors took his body for research and sawed off the top of his skull. That piece was gifted to a teenage assistant who reportedly used it as a doorstop and ashtray. Even more grotesquely, the doctors skinned the corpse, nipples and all, and had it tanned into a pair of shoes and a medical bag. One of the doctors proudly wore the shoes to his inauguration as governor. The rest of the body was preserved in a whiskey barrel before finally being buried,